folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence.com. Today we're taking a look at this pen. This is an Aurora Optima sent to me by Kenro Pens. This is my last day with this pen. I gotta give this beauty back. This is the 365 for this year. They do one of these each year. I think this is the 5th one. There have been gold ones, there's been brown ones, there's a purple one, all that jazz. And this is a beautiful little pen. This is called the Coral Red. It is a numbered edition, as you can see here. 365 pieces, of which this is number 302. So if you get this one later on, I don't know how you would, but maybe you would. This has been in my hands for a little bit. And I've been loving this pen. It is a gorgeous little beauty. I thought it was going to be coral like the color coral, but this is more coral like red, like a coral. You know what I'm saying? Not like the color of the year this year, but like coral, like one of those corals. So like the other pens in this range, these are piston fillers. These two are mine. This is an 88, and this is the Talentum. The 88 and the Optima are a lot alike, except for the 88 has rounded ends and the Optima is flattened off. And then the Talentum is a whole different sort of beast, but you know, apparently I have a thing for black Auroras. So, like the Optima, or rather like the 88, don't go anywhere. These two are pretty much the same pen, aside from the rounded ends. So if you match up the bands and such, they're actually the same. You can swap nibs in between these guys, which is convenient because Aurora nibs are pretty cool, but their pens are also kind of pricey. So if you don't want to have a whole bunch of different pens, you can actually get the nibs. So this is a piston filler pen. You can see right here it has an ink window. You can see the ink sloshing around back and forth in there. This is Monteverde Fire Opal, which I thought was kind of good for this fiery coral sort of pen. The material this is made out of is what they call Auroralide, which is a cellulose acetate material. It's a kind of plastic, but it is has a real nice feel to it. It gets really cool chatoyance, as you can see here in the cap and barrel. I've got a lot of light on this one because you really want light to catch this guy. Photographs, like still photos, don't really do it justice most of the time, but look at all the shine in there. Slightly darker here because this is the place where the ink is. Piston is here. This is the piston knob. I'm not going to actuate it because this actually does have quite a bit of ink in it. The nibs on these are actually pretty nice. This is an 18K nib, and these nibs come in everything from extra fine up to like double broads, and they've got italics and all kinds of stuff. This is actually a pretty special nib. It's marked CM on the underside. By the way, their nibs are always marked down here. They're not actually marked on the nib themselves. You won't find a nib, size marking there. But here on the underside of the nib, you can see it says CM right there. That means it's a Chinese calligraphy medium. They also come in extra fine and fine. I would say go for this medium. But the other thing about these is these are all hand ground by their in-house nib dude at Aurora. This nib is actually the Goccia Nib. Goccia, and that is Italian for drop, which as you can tell, it's a bit drop shaped. And actually, when I first got my hands on this nib, Carrie at Kenro said, "Hey Mike, you want to try out this nib?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, I'll try out a nib." I got it and I was like, "Oh, it looks like an Architect." Well, I don't really care for Architect nibs too much. I tend to rotate my nib inward a little bit when I write, and so Architect nibs catch and scratch and feel awful. This, however, is not actually an Architect. Can I get some focus? Thanks, bro. This is not actually an Architect. You can see the bottom is rounded. What you end up with here is something that's sort of like what Sailor used to do, or I guess sometimes still does, with the Naginata Togi nib, which is kind of like a zoom nib, but like hand-touched. And that is, this nib will give you a different line width depending on your angle of attack. So if you come in very shallow, you get a paintbrush-sized stroke. If you come in more acute, it becomes more and more fine. So I'm going to rearrange the camera here, and we can see how that works. Okay, so this is your Goccia Nib, and you can see here that it has a very particular sort of angle there, right there at the tipping of the nib. And then here is a stock standard Aurora medium. So the CM nib on this bottom one right here, this guy, it definitely starts out broader than your regular medium, and then it's hand ground to be this Goccia shape. So let's see what that does it does thusly. This is an Aurora Optima. Three, 6, 5 in coral red. And this ink is actually Monteverde. Fire opal. So you can see there, definitely, as I was writing, I was taking my nib and going more and more perpendicular. Because when you write perpendicularly, or almost perpendicularly, you end up with very, very fine strokes, right? Like it is. Also, here are some horizontals. So not much line variation there when it comes to just regular old writing. However, the line variation on one of these is kind of like the naginata togi that Sailor does, or occasionally does, where the more shallow your angle, the broader your strokes. So you're not really going to get much line variation. It's not like an italic or a stub where you have thin horizontals and wide verticals, or like an architect, which is basically the opposite, wide horizontals and narrow verticals. But what you get is a differentiation of your line width based upon your angle of attack. So as you get more this away, much smaller. This away, much bigger. So you can actually go from, let's see, here are some lines, to, let's go up a little bit. No, sorry, go this way. And as we keep going, you can actually write with just the very tip of this pen and get a very, very fine line, like definitely extra fine. And it actually stays wet all the way to the tip, and it stays comfortable all the way to the tip, which is pretty darn cool. That means that this guy, when he was grinding this thing, took care to give you a smooth nib all the way up here, a smooth curve. And so if you want to write very, very small, I actually like this. I've been using it for my my planners and all kinds of things, because no matter what size nib you kind of want, by varying your hold, you can get that size nib, which is really dope. So I'm actually kind of a big fan of this this Goccia nib. It is a little bit expensive. It does add to the price of a pen, but I think it's pretty darn cool. This is a nice custom nib on a very nice nib to begin with. I think the Aurora nibs are some of the most beautiful anyway. I mean, look at that. Look at the sweep of that nib around the feed. It's kind of beautiful. And one of the few brands that actually does in-house nibs, makes their nibs in-house. So let's switch back to a bigger view and close out. Okay, so that's how this guy writes with this Goccia nib. It is a beautiful pen. You can still find these in a few places. I've seen them online at prices from like $636. Yeah, it's pricey. It's limited edition Aurora. Up to like $795. And of course, that Goccia nib will add to the price. That adds an additional retail $150. So there will probably be discounts from various vendors and that sort of thing to help bring that price down a bit. But it is a little bit of a pricey grind on a fairly pricey pen. But you can get that grind, that nib, on any of Aurora's offerings at this level. So like their gold nibs and that sort of thing. So check those out. They're pretty darn cool. And if you want that sort of variation in your writing, it's kind of hard to find. So there you go. That's my quick look here at the Aurora Optima 365 Coral Red with a Goccia nib. See y'all later. Peace out.